Okay, number 18 is a difficult question if you're not very good with fractions. And here's the way I would approach it. They're asking you, you're starting at 3 3/4 and you're going to 5 inches on a ruler. And what they want to find out is if you were 1/4 the distance between these two, where would you be on the ruler? So what you're going to have to do is subtract 5 from 3 3/4 and then just split it into 4 parts because they want to know what a quarter is. So the trick here is you have to remember how to subtract fractions, and the way to remember with subtracting fractions is turn them into mixed fractions and then you can subtract. So when you do this, you're going to get 3 3/4, turn that into a mixed fraction, and the way I taught it is take the big number, times it by the little one, 3 times 4, and then add it to the top. So it would be 3 times 4 is 12, 12 plus 3 is 15 over 4. And then the 5 is really just 5 over 1. And when you subtract or add fractions, you have to make sure that the bottoms are the same. So you times both by 4, so you're going to get 20 over 4 minus 15 over 4, and now you can subtract them, and you're left with 5 over 4. Okay, so that's the difference. The difference is that it's 5 over 4. But what I want to know is I want to know a quarter of it, because we want to know a quarter of the distance. So I have to divide this by 4. And how you do that is we don't really divide fractions. We always multiply the reciprocal. So when you divide a fraction, or 4 over 1, you really do 1 times 4, and you flip the 4 and the 1, like that. That stays the same. You then multiply, and you get 15 over 16. And when you multiply fractions, you don't have to worry about the bottoms or the denominators being the same. So 5 over 16 is a quarter of the distance. And then the last step that you got to do is take this and add it to the starting mark, which is 3 3/4. So this is where this question is quite an involved question with fractions. So now I've got to add 5 over 16. Again, mixed fraction, 3 times 4 is 12, add the 3 is 15 over 4, add 5 over 16. Bottoms are not the same, try to make them the same. 4 can turn into 16 if I times it by 4. So if I just kind of finish the question up here, I'm going to get 60 over 16, and I add 5 over 16, and I get 65 over 16. Okay, and then the last step is to try to figure out, well, which of the ones is right here. So I have to turn this back into a mixed fraction. So this, yeah, it's a pretty complicated question. So I think about the biggest number that would multiply by 16 to get here. And the answer is 4, because 4 times 10 is 40, and 4 times 6 is 24. So when you do this, you're going to be left with 64, and you're left with 1, and the bottom stays the same, so it's 4 1/6. Yeah, that's a question and a half. So hopefully you don't have too many of those in the Provincial, but this is really just a review of fractions.